Good day, YouTube family. This is Country Boy over here at the Stony Island Ranch. Well, today I got another project. We got some more, guess what? Birdies. Yep, we got some more birdies. We got these from the Tractor Supply. We're going to go ahead and put them in the brooder. I'm going to show you that process and even give you some numbers on what it would take for you to start some on your own. Get your own chicks going. Well, one of the first things you want to get is a tote, or a dog kennel, cat kennel, pet kennel, any type of thing that'll contain them and keep them inside. This is what we use. We use a tote. Usually keep about 10 to 12 birds in here when they're pretty young. Once they get a certain age or a certain size, I usually move them up to a large dog kennel and then out to the coop. This is a waterer for chicks. You want to be able to change that quite often, 3 to 4 times a day for this style. They do have some other kind that's better. This is another basic feeder. Works pretty good. I put that bottle in there because the chicks will stand on top of the feeder and poo down in their food. I also like to start them with a 20% protein. A bag of this usually runs you about $10. 20% protein usually is a good starter for the chicks. And these are the bedding for them. Pretty much, I think any bedding would be good. I personally use pine. So, and this is your heat lamp. You definitely got to have a heat lamp. This is probably about $24 if you buy one. You got a 250 watt heat lamp bulb in there, and you just want to make sure you don't put it too close to the chicks because you don't want to cook the chicks too soon. So we'll start off with a little bit of the bedding. Let's get that down in there. And I tend to keep my chicks indoors so I can watch them and maintain them. So they're not too bad up front. As they get older, move them outside. So I put a little bedding in here, and then what I like to do is I like to put warm water in their waterer, because if you put cold water in there and they drink that, you run the risk of dropping their body temperature. You don't really want to do that. You kind of want to keep your chicks warm. So room temperature to maybe just slightly lukewarm water seems to work pretty well. I haven't lost a chick yet. And it's that simple. And we can go ahead and start putting the chicks in there. Hey, little fella, let's get him in there. These are all egg layers, meat. We call them multi-purpose. They lay eggs, and they're also good for meat. These are all females, so I had them sexed. Sometimes when you buy the chicks, they're not sexed, so there's no way of knowing what you have. You can have a bunch of roosters. I didn't want a bunch of roosters because roosters will fight to the death in most cases. So these are all females. They're all egg layers / meat chicks. And then what I like to do is put a piece of wood in there or something to elevate the waterer from the bedding, because they run around a lot. They'll walk in the water and that kind of thing. And I like to put it in there, elevate it a little bit so you can get less of the bedding and stuff like that going in the water. And then once you put the water on there, it's usually they can reach it. As long as they can reach it, they're fine. Ideally, I would probably in the future just hang it, because that'll be the best if you want to hang it from the top of the tub. That way it's not sitting on the floor. As you can see, that little piece in there already. So that's why you always want to change the water. Sometimes they'll stand on that thing and they might even poo in it. So that's why you want to change the water often. Food, you want to keep them food. They should always have food. They do eat a lot. That 50-pound bag usually lasts about 30 days. I usually run out of 50 pounds of chick feed to a dozen of chicks in about 30 days. You put your heat lamp on them. You want to keep them between 95 and 100 degrees, because when chicks are first born, they can't regulate their body temperature. So You got to keep the heat on them. Don't want the heat too close, you don't want it too far away. If you put the heater in there, you definitely want them to have a way to walk away from it. They will regulate themselves that way. They'll go to the heat when they're cold, and if they're too hot, they'll try to run away from it. But if you don't give them any space to run away from it, the birds will overheat, and you'll probably have some casualties. So always be aware of that. After about a week, you can back off of the heat a little bit. Just depends on what time of year it is. You still don't want your chicks to be experiencing temperatures below, I would say, 70 degrees. After they're about 2 weeks old, it's still a little chilly for them. So you always want to have some type of heat for them. Just back the light away from it. And so this type of food is, they call it crumblers. And they tend to they like that pretty much. I mean, it's the small kind, so they can swallow it actually, because the bigger pellets, they wouldn't be able to eat those. So you always want to get the crumblers. So once the chicks are about a month old, I tend to bring them out and I'll put them in this bottom area of the coop, keeping them separated from the older ones so they don't pick on the younger ones. Boy, these guys love bread. They look forward to me bringing them bread from time to time. So basically, if you look at the way the coop is designed, I can keep the even overnight, I can lock both areas separate. That way I don't have to worry about them fighting, being locked up together. You could choose when you want to let your chicks out. I would say about a month for me. It's summertime right now. It's about 80 degrees right now, so it'd be perfect time for chicks to be outside. These grates are pretty strong. I don't know an animal that can get through these, and they're also about 6 inches to a foot down in the ground. So they continue to go under the ground, so you can't dig under them either. So that's my setup. I hope it helped anybody. If you have any questions, leave it down in the comment section. Kind of new to YouTube, so please hit the like button and subscribe.